Okay, I'll give it a few seconds. I'll give it a
Oh,
few seconds
hey,
to
look
ramp
at
up.
that.
I know it's one of
We
those
appear to
things.
be going now. That's pretty cool.
We have to work at the introduction. This is just too. This is
I like.
too.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, we took the time and the effort to make that like countdown and stuff. So I mean, that works too. But I kind
I
of like
know.
just winging it. Hey, by
I
the way, push
know.
go.
Push go and just start talking a conversation. Oh man. First and foremost, I want to say obviously sabah to everybody, but it is evening, so good evening. Hope you guys are doing great. We are back at it again. Um, with another episode of the best of our week. We are, two guys just wanting to hang out and talk tech and what's happening in the world and discuss ramen discussions and then discuss, our buddy with his new studio that is coming along. Hopefully, well, better, good. Is it
Yeah,
coming
no,
along?
it's coming along. I still have lots of relocating of material to the bookshelf. So it's like I get one box out and it kind of takes up all of the floor space, and I get everything kind of put away, and then I've got to break that down, then clean it back out and try and get something shot. But yeah, it's coming along now.
Packing is definitely a lot faster than unpacking, especially when it's a new space and getting the setup.
And we were definitely at that point when I was packing up the office where I was not being careful about like labeling and where does this go? What's in this box? It was like office stuff. Office stuff.
It's like you're combining Marvel and DC and Transformers and Star Wars in the same box, and you're committing, and Star Trek, and committing a whole bunch of problems. So ultimately,
although I did, if I turn my chair and I move like that, I do have my shelf. Oh, Soundwave.
I see sound. Well, obviously, yeah, Soundwave right there, and I see Optimus at the top.
There's the larger Soundwave action figure that's holding on to the smaller Soundwave action figure. And then on the other side, there's my Mighty Mugs Soundwave right there.
Nice.
I'm really bad at doing mirrored choreography.
It takes practice, but we're here with you. We're
would also not be able to do TV news weather.
No. I've seen
there's
TV
a front
news weather
coming in over here. Oh no.
And you're doing gestures you're going to be regretting for the rest of your life. I want to say good evening to everybody in the chat. Of course, we have Andrew, Fat Producer in the chat. Callie's in there. Greg is hanging out with us. Michael Peppertech with us as well.
Nash, Gary
and the man, the myth, the fireman, the Gary, the fireman, of course. And Ranesh, yes, of course. Can't forget Ranesh.
So thank you for joining us on another a weekly stream, best of our week. Also, I mean, don't be shy in sharing in the chat what the best of your week was as we kind of jump into this. And I don't know about you, but it felt like there was a lot of stuff to work on, and I really wasn't able to get a lot of videos out. Like I was working constantly, lots of work, but still kind of felt like, I got out one hearing health video about earbuds for girls. Okay, that's this week.
Yeah, hey man, you know what? I hang that little sucker up and take the credit and move on. I think that's the best way to. And you started off with the right thing. I mean, it was a holiday start in day. You went in, started with the SCGQA, of course. I was kind of in the same boat a little bit. I'm gonna be frank and say that I took some impressions or some inspiration from your move to clean up my office a little bit.
Oh, nice.
So I have expanded my own repertoire of things. So I'm actually rebuilding things. The wall, unfortunately for people that are fans of it, will be coming down and rebuilt in a new form with slightly different, with things that I think I still have. Like you could see right there, I have the NVIDIA Shield thing here, that doesn't exist here anymore. I just have the box. It looks nice. But yeah, I want to rebuild it. I want to build it the right way. And I do have better aesthetics now, and I'm not even done. I spent seriously like about 6 hours today organizing some stuff in the office, and I felt exhausted at the end of it. But I pushed out one video. I finally was able to, I felt like it was time for me to push the video or do a video review on the OnePlus Watch, right?
Oh, yeah.
The watch came out a while back. We had a lot of announcements, things that we're supposed to get. And
well, I'm just surprised that after having the watch for 36 hours, you weren't able to come up with a definitive conclusion of the full representation of that.
I wasn't feeling
under
well
all scenarios and perfectly predicting
everything.
The state of software updates for that.
I
don't know. I mean, other people on YouTube seem to be really good at
Everybody
reviewing.
reviewed it. That's the thing. Everybody reviewed it within a day or so of the embargo. And so here's the thing. I'm not trying to say that they don't have their
I am.
methods. I'm trying to say that what we got at launch, what we were promised at launch, was not available
Was
at
incomplete.
launch.
Yeah.
And what the reviews that we saw, at least what we're trying to say, were incomplete in informing us of everything that was going to happen. They spoke to the core experience, which to a certain point did get better, and in some other areas didn't change at all. So some of the things they said is still true. But I actually specifically held off putting a review for the watch. I was using it, and I pushed off the video till all of the features they announced were actually on the device. And Tuesday morning, lo and behold, I wake up and I get an update on my watch, and it says, okay, 110 exercise modes added today. Great. AI watch face. Boom, add that today. And surprisingly, actually, those are two nice things that they added. I like the inclusion of those. We had the always on display. We had the new features. Battery life is still pretty good. I mean, if you guys want to check out the video, obviously, please check it out on the channel. But that was primarily my main thing.
Don't spoil the video, but I mean, again, it's in kind of getting to that point.
Yeah,
I don't know, man. Like increasingly, why I kind of feel like reviewing as we sort of have understood it throughout our careers probably needs to have some kind of course correct or market adjustment. Like, I'm less excited about trying to take the energy to really spend the time with the product and okay, well, I know that a bunch of people are going to have first look videos out on the day, and then a week later we'll be talking more like review territory. But increasingly, it's like that effort is just not rewarded for actually investing.
No, the algorithm is not by any means feeding into it, because the interest is no longer, it's no longer, fresh pop.
We've all decided it's done.
Exactly. The decision was made day one, and then from there on, everything and anything you say, unless it's a specific tone, it's a little bit not necessarily received. And so, yeah, for me, I did the video last week with the S21 Ultra. I've been enjoying going back and revisiting things like months after they, how have they aged. Specifically with the S21 Ultra, what are my issues? What's going on? Surprise, surprise, the MST was not a big deal for me anymore. You know why? Because I stopped using Samsung Pay. That's how we fixed it. No, seriously, the S21 kicked me off of Samsung Pay, and ever since then, that wasn't a problem. The storage was a problem. The charging speed, you kind of live with it, but then you feel real bad when you have a OnePlus 9 Pro that can go from 0 to 100 in 30 minutes. It just makes you feel like, what happened, Samsung? What turn? No. But yeah, I've been enjoying the kick. I've been enjoying trying to do those a little bit more, especially since we're kind of in a lull. There's not as much announcements going on. But
I actually spent a little time today kind of noodling out some notes for Nokia 9, sort of end of life look back.
End of life? Is it done? No more support?
No. But I just kind of feel like, you one of the people like me who got it like the day it was available?
You got it with $100 sale on Best Buy the day it came out. You got it before I was, because I went there and they were like, we're out.
I feel like, I was like, people like me would have, had I been using it as like a daily driver, had I really said, like, this is the phone I'm going to use, I'm excited about this, I probably would have flipped it by now. Like looking back on like how that device has aged and what else has come out since, and then the changes, the trends that we've seen from multi-camera to much larger and pixel binning sensors and stuff like that. I felt like I let my emotions get the better of me when I was initially reviewing that phone. My desire for the success of that phone kind of colored some of my commentary, and this is sort of my last, like, I mean, if it finally gets Android 11, it still doesn't have. Then I'll
think
maybe
we can probably get you a GSI built that we can just load it on there. The camera won't work the way it's supposed to.
Yeah, the camera won't work at all.
We'll get you Android 11. You just ask for the thing, man. We can get it happening. It's just the camera will have to work a little bit. All the cameras to work the exact same way.
It's a little bit of a conversation about another. I mean, again, there was so much excitement over Nokia's camera experiment. At the same time, this was also one of those data points where every single time we try to do kind of a pure Android, the initiative fails. It does not succeed. From Google edition phones, like when we could get like I don't remember what Sony it was. You could get the Google Play edition.
Oh, the GPA edition. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
So Samsung did one.
GP was
E.
it Google
Google,
GPE edition?
yeah,
Yeah,
sorry,
no,
the GPA.
that's
GPA. Totally.
that's
Now
Google
we're not
Play
talking about.
edition. It's like
No, no,
saying
no. I was going to say
ATM
GPA
machine.
is what. If
Yeah,
Aditya's in the chat, he would be like, "TK, that's
he's
my stuff."
probably
No.
stressing out about.
Yeah.
But also I feel like there are three major components to software.
Hmm.
And when you call something Android One and you promise support and updates and attention for software, that the Nokia 9 only kind of achieved one category of the three. And
Okay.
so this is also kind of a look back on like there doesn't seem to be a way
Hmm.
outside of buying a Pixel, of course. There doesn't seem to be a way to better guarantee the kind of software update support and polish that we should expect when we're shopping more premium tier devices.
It's surprising how some companies are also changing. I mean, even OnePlus, which I definitely appreciate their effort with software updates, they're only going to give us 2 major Android updates to the 9 and the 9 Pro. It's not 3, but 3 security patch updates. They've changed.
So here's my feelings on that though, is
Mhm.
like as we go back 2 and 3 years, the way that Android evolves is not like iOS.
Yeah.
Apple finds this kind of performance tier and it kind of locks in their phones for a number of years.
Mhm.
And that's where we get some of that disparity. I mean, like I was showing an iPhone XS just getting wrecked by a first generation iPhone SE. You
Mhm.
know, like you're not really getting more power because Apple has decided that this is what their phones should feel like, and this is how much of the processing power and the other resources that they're going to give developers. Same thing. I'm sure we're going to see this at WWDC, but like an iPad Pro with an M1 still has the same RAM requirements for app developers as any other iPad. It's nothing special. You didn't get more power. You didn't get more resources. It can't do more things. It's not more pro. So the flip side of that, look at some of the teething pains that OnePlus users are having, like OnePlus 7 era devices getting bumped up to Android 11.
Exactly.
Because of the way that we changed the underpinnings and because of the way that Google and the manufacturers are customizing software for chipsets that they did not design.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm less and less concerned about year 3 and year 4 operating system updates. Because I do feel that kind of plays into the narrative of I updated the software and my phone got all buggy and slow. Most of the time I say dumb user, but increasingly like going V60 Android 10 to Android 11 was real funky. Lots of people having issues with Xperia One. Surprisingly, fewer people having problems with the Mark One Xperia One. More people having issues on the Mark II Xperia One. But still, I'm way more concerned that as we get to year 3, they're keeping up with security patching and that there's still some notion of tweaks from the manufacturer for polish, improving camera performance, improving system performance, polishing up their UI. As so much of that front face is now dictated by the manufacturer, I kind of don't care if I get a OnePlus 9 and it's on Android 11 and it's not going to get Android 14. Like, I'm not bothered by that. But when these updates, when the phone is that old, this hardware is so powerful, it damn well better be still getting security patches.
Oh, no, agree. And I don't mind. I think the approach to 2 Android versions is just the reason why I'm saying this is with the OnePlus 9, it came out with Android 10, right? The 9 and Pro came out with Android 11. Sorry. 12 is around the corner, and we know at least 13 will be in the game. That was primarily what I was kind of shooting for. So the 7 and the 7 Pro are kind of also on that end term of that, right? This would be they came out with 9, they got 10, and this is 11 for them. So the 11 is the last step for them to get. Google's approach with Whitechapel, I think, is what they're trying to do to change that conversation. And one thing that
makes
I also
more sense as Google will have way more granular control over the SoC.
Oh, absolutely.
To build their software directly around that hardware. That makes perfect sense. I totally grok that.
But then there are also other companies like, I mean, we both worked with them also as well. The Panasonic's approach to certain things, they go for a different chipset, right? They're not trying to go with the fastest chipset on a tablet or on a mobile device. They're going for a chipset that they're able to support the 3 to 4 years through Qualcomm. So Qualcomm does support these certain types of chipset for updates as for longer periods, and they're more sustained for security patch updates. So it really depends on the way, I guess, or the SKU of SoC or the chipset that you decide to go with. And it seems like more and more that the flagships are not intended to be maintained for as long as what some of the other business end users, because I feel like those are business users and consumers style.
And what you're describing there is definitely more an issue of from the Tough Book line is
absolutely, exactly.
is how like an IT department managing a fleet of rugged tablets or warehouse worker,
because you see the requirements they have on the little tablet that we did a video a couple of weeks ago, you and I.
I still need to do mine. It was so funny.
Oh,
like,
no. JC, what happened?
They did my press brief the day the embargo lifted.
Huh?
Yeah. So I was like days behind. I mean, I'd already kind of cracked it open and I'd been playing with it, but I also told them like, hey, I'm in the middle of a move.
I was going to say, I thought it was the move. That's why I didn't even bug you or whatever.
But no. It was kind of hand in hand. Like we couldn't line up to do their little press briefing thing until the day of the embargo.
Okay. Jeff saying, yikes.
Yikes. That difference being, that's a tablet that's probably never going to get an operating system update because that breaks things for industrial and IT use. So again, it's a very different idea of support. And there are a lot of consumers out there that I think would actually kind of appreciate that.
Yeah.
Think about how many of your family and friends like, don't change this around on me. Don't move my settings around. Don't make the menus look different. Now, why do my notifications behave differently?
Why do I have to pull on the left side to get one thing and pull on the right side to get something else?
Then this is all messed up now. And it worked before. It just worked the way I wanted it to. And now it's unfamiliar.
I remember those statements, yes.
So many people that would prefer just kind of a more sort of seamless in the background Windows style of updates, and I think that's what Google Play Service updates are trying to.
They're getting we're getting very close. OnePlus relies also on a lot of Google Play updates to update their core applications. They're no longer including this just purely into the actual operating system. But so the goal, what we're trying to say essentially is, depending on the company, depending on the manufacturer, and depending on the type of business that the manufacturer's working, like Panasonic and Toughbooks are not intended for most people. They're intended for business, as Juan was mentioning. Deployment at a company, IT manager. It's really meant to be part of a fleet deployment, right? You see it typically at people that work outdoors, construction sites, police officers, fire department. Gary, the fireman, probably has 6 Toughbooks sitting right now on his desk. I'm just throwing numbers right now, right, Gary? So. It's one of those things that I feel like were intended to be maintained for an extended amount of time, and people can maintain them. Versus what we typically get from most manufacturers, which again, depending on the experience, could still be functional. 3 years of security patch update, at least you're getting the right, your system is secure, and you may not necessarily want to be jumping into Android 15 and 16.
I'll be curious to see, like, we've got those phones coming out now. I would love to audit Samsung, see how well they really kept up with all of their promises of 4 years of updates. But then there's a part of me that's super cynical, where this is a company that used to battery throttle just like Apple would. I would be concerned that operating system updates 3 and 4 are more to encourage a user to flip their phones that they've been holding on to for too long, thanks to poor performance.
Poor performance, battery capacity, or battery throttling, or systems throttling to supposedly manage the battery because the battery can't perform at the same level.
Sure.
That scenario plays. Yeah.
And on devices that are now increasingly difficult to do things like replace batteries and stuff. So I'm really not trying to just like, I'm not claiming that that's what's going to happen, but something tells me that if an individual really were using that one phone as their all-encompassing pocket computing device as the battery degrades, as software gets more demanding. I don't believe older phones will receive the same quality of attention for those updates. So more likely to have bugs and issues.
And performance changes as well.
And then performance, yeah.
Yeah, no. One of my videos that I posted, I did a battery charge speed test on the OnePlus 7 Pro. And I got a comment literally 2 days ago talking about the fact that he said, now my phone takes an hour and a half, not an hour, to charge from 0 to 100. So OnePlus over time has slowed down the charging on the OnePlus 7 Pro, I guess, to probably alleviate some stress on the battery as it's aging. So there's potentially things like that the companies will do. But I'm looking forward to seeing at least what you're trying to, what your end of life or end of support or end of coverage on the Nokia 9.
I'm toying.
I know
with
we
the
started
idea.
there, but
Yeah,
we
I
got
know.
somewhere else.
We
we were so far on the left side.
I'm toying with the title of something like Nokia 9, My Perpetual Heartbreak, or something like that.
No, Nokia 9. I'm just going now.
So it's just, I mean, to spoil one of the conclusions of the video, it's not that I thought it was a bad phone, and far from that. It really was so ambitious and so good that the few areas that never quite landed stuck out so much worse.
And I think it's with all the updates that they pushed, it's one of those things that always surprise me. It's that lag, the capturing of the image, the processing of the image, the ability of not being able to take multiple images in succession.
Well,
there's things that you always
you could usually get through 3 or 4 shots before the processor would choke.
Well, before the buffering, before the he's like, wait, hold on a second.
Oh, hey, this is running real hot now. Back when we thought 880, before we had any idea of what 888s would be doing.
Yeah, I was going to say,
we had the Nokia 9.
Yeah, we thought that was no. 888 has its own little thing. Aditya's in the chat. I want to say, hey, Aditya, I hope you're doing well, man. Thank you for stopping by. So the Nokia is coming up from you, hopefully in the near future. I'm actually ramping up to start working a little bit on the Android 12 update for OnePlus devices, since that was posted again. OnePlus brought it back. Still potentially could break your phone, but I will go ahead and take that risk.
We'll do it so you don't have
to. Exactly. And I really want to see those Color OS inspirations show up on a OnePlus. I want to see that. I want to have that conversation in a video with you guys. So hopefully within the next couple of days, or maybe early next week, you guys will see that video from both of us. But with that being said, I do want to talk to you about some blue stuff. Ooh. Specifically Twitter
After Dark. Oh, Twitter blue. Okay,
yeah. The other blue.
Not network content.
No. Yeah. Okay. Twitter decided this morning was a great time to announce a paid subscription service, which is not available in the US. Surprisingly, I'm not sure why. They missed the mark by a few hundred, maybe a few thousand miles. They went straight Canada as opposed to US, and then hit up Australia as opposed to any other country. So Australia and Canada we're
not bitter
at all. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying is if there was a place for you to test it on your biggest market, and the US is like seriously the most active of all the countries on Twitter. If the US decided to shut off Twitter one day, there'd be a problem. But maybe anyway, I'm not really, I'm just joking, obviously, mostly because I can't try it. And it's not like I want to, make my 2 cents about it. Have you got a chance to see the news, the briefing, or not?
I mean, so I pulled it back up. I scanned it really quickly, and
so it's interesting.
It's interesting. Right? Again, this is one of the concepts I think we're all going to have to wrestle with if we want to engage with platforms and then not feel like we're the fuel that gets burned for their monetization. That our data isn't just the wood chipper material that gets dumped into the machine. One of the ways around that is finding new methods of monetization. And
yeah.
I'm feeling like this is kind of a clumsy first attempt. But what is interesting is seeing them take the step at monetizing this as a platform with a subscription fee. What I want them to then start pushing towards is better bucketing your data, removing you from metrics and analytics. You're not
Those are,
monetized
yeah,
like that.
those are the things that I would. So when I hear the word subscription, right? Anytime you hear subscription, let's say if it's Amazon or it's a Hulu or whatever, and I think, Fat Produce, Andrew's pretty very much on point. How many more subscriptions we're going to be keep adding? It's going to be a long list. Twitter just got added.
This is an upfront conversation that I want more services to start with. I'm really tired of the old internet model of social media where we build a service for free, we hype it on cool, and then we figure out a way to monetize it. And it's usually happening in ways that aren't really beneficial to the end users because you've got to satisfy the demands of advertisers and marketers.
Absolutely. It's a very weird approach to, because Twitter's, I would say the major source of income for Twitter is advertising. We're seeing advertising on videos. We're seeing advertising on their reel, whatever the fleets. I was going to say reel, but anyways, you know what I'm talking. You put up anything, there's ads in everywhere. But their first model of subscription, even if it is $2.99 or $3, whatever, depending on what it ends up being in the US, when it rolls out in the US, doesn't include ad forgiveness. You don't lose. You still have to watch ads while you're paying to use the service.
Yeah,
the features that they're
bad cable TV.
Yeah, it's like Hulu Basic or so. I don't know, but then the features that they include are very specific to a small niche of subscribers that really use the platform in that way. Bucketing your content, your bookmarks, your listings, so that they're all categorized.
I've always wanted a folder for my bookmarks.
I want to have a folder specifically for all your tweets, all of the DTS tweets, but I want them separate so that I'm able to actually go back later and say, this is what Juan said 2 weeks ago.
Is go to twitter.com/somegadgetguy.
What?
And then in your web browser, you can create a bookmark there.
Don't say we could do this already.
If you hit Control-D in Firefox. And of course, I'm demonstrating this example of the Firefox, the most used web browser
in the world. No. So that was, I did not know you could do that, sir. I thought you had to pay $3.99. So that's one thing to talk about.
The spirit of this idea is correct, but to your point, that's where I'm feeling like this is massively clumsy. This is
very. And then there's that undo button. That undo, which is not really an undo, it's more of a delay, kind of like you can delay, or if you basically set a timer where you're able to undo something before it actually goes live, right? Before it goes live. And I felt like in my mind, I'm thinking, how different is that from a delete?
Well, no, I mean, it's like, I really do like the Gmail Labs implementation where you push send and it gives you like a 20-second countdown before it actually sends.
No.
So there is that window of, what did they say? It's 30 seconds. Sorry, 30 seconds.
30 seconds.
On a tweet. There have been times where a 30-second buffer would have saved me from publishing, where it immediately goes public and then I caught it 30 seconds later
and I have to delete it. And I've done that before. I'm not denying. I responded to somebody. I wanted to say the word affordable, and I wrote the word adorable. I'm guilty of that.
That too.
Yeah. I owned it though. I didn't even delete the tweet. I just left it. I said that those prices are adorable. That's what I wrote, and then later on wrote a joke at my own expense. But that was just me. But yeah,
and so something like that, I feel like that's a nice little perk. I don't know that's. I feel like that should be a core service.
We've been begging for it for years. This is the funky thing.
Some kind of tweet protection or editing or something. So I feel like you would have engendered more goodwill if that were made a more core part of Twitter, and instead the stratification of free users and paid users was leaning more into the things that you were talking about, reducing the number of ads that you see, reducing the number of nagging,
allowing us to sort our feed in whatever way we want to sort it.
Exactly. Customizations for that. And then from there, start having a conversation with those users about how the platform is monetized and how their data is being separated from the analytics and trends
Yeah.
of their marketing. In a time where you know iPhones are pushing Facebook to change up their business model just because of how advertising on phones is going to work and data tracking on phones is going to work. Now's the right time to just start doing anything else. But this is also something that you use it as a way to educate, because I mean, even just looking in our comments, yes, there is a sentiment that we're paying for too many subscriptions.
Oh, absolutely.
Twitter
Twitter
is a massive organization that needs to keep the servers running.
Mm-hmm.
So getting to use this service for free means you are a part of a marketing component that maybe you're fine with, or maybe you would prefer not to be. The only way to not be a part of it is to contribute something towards the financial solvency of that business model. And that's what has to happen next. The next platforms, the next services that come around, we've got to find other ways of monetizing than the old, let's suck up all your data and sell it off to the highest bidder, and under the guise of advertising,
but then still charge you for a subscription fee, because we're still using their data either way. So this is that it's a very, I think if I got it correctly,
where I feel they got it wrong.
El Jefe got it right. I think he was responding to Gary. He said, Gary the fireman, he said, sounds like Johnny Walker was in charge of the marketing at Twitter this time. Like, yes, a few too many Johnny Walkers. Black.
I'm more of a bullet man. That's my daily driver. I'm
thinking they went straight to Black Label, and that's pretty much what they're doing. Don't listen to me, by the way. I have no idea what Black Label and Red Label are. All I know is that Johnny Walker has a Black Label and a Red Label version of them. I don't drink. So
I'm not as well familiar with the Johnny Walker.
I've only seen the labels, but yeah.
I like Woodford. Woodford's pretty good. I really like Bullet.
I like Diet Coke. Diet Coke.
Diet Coke is fine.
Diet Coke is really good. Not so much Diet Pepsi, but Diet Coke for sure. Oof. Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to really make that face if anyone's a big fan of Pepsi. I'm just not.
No. I say that with the understanding. I grew up with Pepsi. Lebanon as a country, we did not have Coke. Not really. I got introduced to Diet Coke when I came to the US when I was like 17 years old. So I grew up with Pepsi and I enjoyed it. We didn't have Diet back then. There was just regular Pepsi. And then I got here and I got Diet Coke and I'm like, wait a minute, this is the best thing ever. So yeah, it's a personal preference.
I'm Hispanic and we kind of have a thing about Coke from Mexico being made of sugarcane, not.
Oh, that's right. There's the other flavors of that's true.
Diabetes.
Oh man, so we were at Magic Mountain. Just a little bit of a snippet from last week. This is a joke. This is a joke. There is actually a way of making a joke. So if you're a fan of Deadpool, you're going to get this joke because my son pulled this off on us last week when we were leaving Magic Mountain. So Magic Mountain has a lot of desserts, and one of their desserts was this overly indulgent. It's a cup with ice cream with crunched up berries, whatever things on the side with an actual full stick of ice cream cone inside of it, upside down with a whole bunch of things. So it literally looks like he called it, this is type 3 diabetes. This is type 1 plus type 2 diabetes all together in one cup.
Good man.
He said, Dad, Mom,
I wholeheartedly endorse.
This is what I like to call type 3 diabetes in a cup. It's not 1, it's not 2, it's the 2.
So, and apparently that joke just manifested Josh Vergara out of thin air.
That's all I had to say. Apparently,
Josh, apparently you came around for us.
All I had to say was the diabetes joke. I am by the way, I am not joking about the actual condition or the disease itself. Diabetes is a very serious condition. You need to manage it. You need to work at it. I do have to throw that disclaimer. The joke that my son did it was just so natural. It was just so straight. Like I did not see it coming. And he looked at and he said, that's a type 3 diabetes in a cup. And I'm like, what? So he watched Deadpool and we saw Once Upon a Deadpool. So he saw that bit of joke there where he says, what's your special powers? He's like, I got type 1 and type 2 diabetes. So I'm like, interesting. You're on the team. It's one of those. Yeah,
It's like
no,
the most off color we've ever gotten, just in
yeah.
time for Josh. I
And
love
then
it.
Josh shows up, and then Josh suddenly like, boom. Okay. Well, Josh, I hope you're doing well. I hope you got a nice little thing. You're drinking something nice that it helps you, enjoy the evening. But I did want to talk about it. It's a little bit of a surprise. I think last time we were talking about it, you mentioned something that you were trying to get your hands on on a specific phone.
Mhm.
And I thought that we were going to try to work it out where I could lend you mine so that you
And
can able
then
to get
it
your hand
just
on it.
showed up one
And then
day.
yours showed up. You little, man, congrats on
So
the
feeling
brand
pretty
new
good.
the Mi 11i.
So, I mean,
Uh, uh,
obviously, this has been around for a little while. It's been out for what, a
uh,
little more than a month?
it's about a month. Yeah,
About a month?
it's the last one they pushed. It came after the light, so it was
Mhm.
kind of like the T to the normal to the Pro. I feel like it's the T to the Pro the way OnePlus does it, but this is obviously not OnePlus. So yeah, definitely. We didn't have an I last year. I think this is the first of its series.
Well, I'm kind of feeling like Mi 11
Hmm.
is sort of in between a OnePlus 9 and a 9 Pro.
A
It's
little
not.
bit, yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, we're kind of picking and choosing, and I kind of feel like the overall experience here is on the Mi 11i
Hmm.
is just slightly under a OnePlus 9.
See, for me, the I and the 9 are for me kind of close, very close in the experience because you get almost similar, like they almost like they
Haha,
copy
but
each
you're
other.
wrong. Let's debate.
Okay, let's go. Punch one. Okay, first, the OnePlus 9 has wireless charging in the US. The Mi 11i doesn't. The screen resolution, they're both 1080p 120,
Mhm.
right? So
I would also contribute USB 3 versus USB 2 OTG.
that's true. They did.
I,
Xiaomi did do a lot of cutting on the 11i. You're right.
I feel the main camera sensor on the Mi
Hmm.
11i
Well,
a minor step ahead of the main camera sensor on the OnePlus 9,
but
but the ultra
I
wide
was going to say the ultra wide. You flips the story. Yeah.
a significant step back
Well, it's because
from the
it's
ultra
because
wide.
OnePlus decided to be smart this year, right? They're like, hey, we'll give them both the same sensor. We're not going to play this. I'll give you a different version on the wide. They went differently with the main, but the wide was the exact same, which I appreciate.
But again, I mean
And
the
and
core
we are talking
photography
about this guy,
experience.
by the way. So I'm holding the 9. He's holding the
I mean, I've got
11i.
it over here on my desk too.
Yeah.
The core photography experience being very, very similar,
Mhm.
but the Mi 11i kind of eking out just a couple minor victories in
Mhm.
I would say in how like color is processed and that pixel binning HDR style photography setup. But it is very frustrating when you're kind of like if you move back and forth. Like say you're in video
Mhm.
and you're like, hey, I'm shooting 4K 60 frame per second video from this main sensor. It looks gorgeous. And then you tap on the screen or you even mistap and you flip it to ultra wide, it kicks you down to 1080p.
Yep.
And it doesn't notify you in
No.
any way. So then when you go
They
back
used to.
to the
They
main
used to.
camera
Yeah. For
sensor,
some reason, there used to be more of a notification, but something I don't know if it's
it just needs to
just
be that little like clear text pop up,
yeah, a
camera
toast
sensor
message.
changed. We are now reducing resolution and frame rate, something, anything.
Yeah, yeah. It's like when you hit stabilization, it says this video is recorded in 1080 now. They're like, you don't.
Exactly.
You don't want to take the video thinking it's a 4K stabilized, and they were like, wait, what? Or yeah.
Yeah, Samsung. So
Sorry.
it's those little like tweaks, you know.
Mhm.
The 11i is so close, but on most of these, I think the OnePlus 9 pulls ahead. Speaker
Mhm.
performance.
A little bit.
There's
Yeah.
a little bit better low end coming from the OnePlus 9. So if you're talking about like the in the hand kind of arm's length
Mhm.
gaming experience, they're almost identical.
Yeah.
But the OnePlus 9, if you set it up in a small bedroom like my office, does a better job of kind of acting like a cheap Bluetooth speaker.
Sorry.
Like it fills the space a little bit better. So it's just like
Good.
tick mark after tick mark after tick mark. It's not to say the 11i is a bad phone. Far from it. I
Yeah.
really enjoy what Xiaomi is doing here, but I do feel like it sits just under what a OnePlus 9
Mhm.
represents. Like by design and also by price tag.
True.
I do feel a OnePlus 9 represents
Six something for the OnePlus, the 11i, as opposed to the
sort of seven something.
700, yeah, 7 something for the 9. No, the approach, I think they complement each other, I think, for the markets that they're in, right? I mean, the 11i wasn't really meant for our market. It was really more meant for the European market, and in their market, Xiaomi has much more of a bigger presence than what they have on our market. So.
And it's not to say that those compromises are deal breakers.
No,
It's
no.
not that I would say like, well, this phone is better. It's also more expensive. You know, that's kind of what I'm saying is like it actually fulfills a conversation about the differences in features, quality of features, and how that reflects in price tag.
Yep.
And if someone is like, if someone understands that, they can make a calculated purchasing decision to say like, I don't really care about the ultra wide, and I usually listen on headphones, so this isn't going to bother me. I want the good main camera.
And if they want an IR blaster in there, and if they like video wallpapers on their phone, because that's a thing now. Yeah. See, I like wallpapers that have changed, that I can put my videos, you know, the Dragon Ball stuff. So to me, Xiaomi always have been doing it. I've been begging OnePlus to add this thing.
Do something like that, yeah.
We need live wallpapers on the phone, on the lock screen. It is not a deal breaker. We have AODs now, right? So OnePlus finally brought that back with Android 11. Okay, next step, give us live wallpapers. That's all I need, and then we're good.
I'm increasingly the guy who's like, I need the softest, most out of focus, abstract shape wallpaper that doesn't interfere with my thumbnails that I can find.
I mean, I'm using an outline on OnePlus line. This is an outline of Goku, right? Because that's how I like it. Like I said, I typically like those. So
I went with, you can't even see it on camera. This is not pure black. It's little shades of out of focus gray stripes.
Oh my god!
It's like increasingly I want as little visual information on my screen as possible, so that the icons stand out.
They actually can stand out. I like. Well, I'm glad that you're getting a chance to spend some time with it. I think it's good. I don't know.
Isn't this what's kind of exciting though? Is like, as soon as I picked up the Mi 11i, I immediately wanted to make a showdown video with the OnePlus 9. Because I feel like there's such solid competitors, and one is asking for a price consideration with very minor compromises, and the other one I think is owing to more premium versions of the same features, but it's obviously more expensive. And we're not talking a huge disparity, but $100 is kind of deal breaker territory for a lot of people.
It could sway somebody in both directions. You're right. It kind of come down to comfort on the spending side, but also on the feature side that you're looking for. And you know, when you want to basically get a specific experience, they are very unique. Their skins are very different. They're not similar. And
that's what's so cool here, is that like with both of these phones, I feel like I've got the three models of BMW versus Audi. They're expensive premium phones. There's nothing about these phones that isn't like high tier, high performance. The expectations we have for battery charging, for fluid frame rates. I mean, like nothing about these phones.
1080p 120, very nice on both of them. 8K recording, 24 frames per second. I think
30 frames per second.
Well, 8K 30 on the Xiaomi, which is surprising, because if you go to the 11, not the I, it's 24, which is like 24. Okay.
But that's where we're at.
But no, what I'm saying is if you
it's like
you want to get 8K, you want to shoot in 30, and I don't know. I mean, I love 24 cinematic, but seriously,
24 only really looks good if you can control, like if you could add an ND filter and you could control your shutter speed.
Or if you're doing like nature or something like that, where you're
that's another one. OnePlus has kind of opened up their camera stack more, and there's better support in Filmic now.
Oh, so Filmic works now? Like actually works. It works better.
A little flaky, but when you go in, like I'm like on my 9 Pro, I have access to all the camera sensors now. And I've got full support for frame rate on the ultra wide and the main sensor now.
Are you able to get 120 on them with Filmic, or are you only able to go to
60? What's funny, and this is why I'm saying it's still a little flaky. 120 seems to be more stable than 60. I have more crashes on Filmic when I'm trying to force the camera into 60 frames per second than when I shoot 120.
Interesting.
It's a OnePlus. We should always expect some OnePlus.
Well, no. So I've been
But-
using the 4K 120 on the OnePlus 9 Pro for over the weekend when we went to Magic Mountain, because I'm trying to do the after, the 2 months or so kind of video for that. And it's been doing better on 4K 60 with but I'm not using filmic. I'm using just the camera app that we have in there. 4K 120 has a hiccup every once in a while with the last update, but 4K 60 is solid, very strong performer.
I don't have 4K 120 on the ultra wide. I do have 4K 60 though.
Yeah, no, I think the 4K 120 is primarily on the main shooter, even though they gave us 4K 60 on the ultra wide on the main shooter, but they only gave us 4K 120 on the main, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong.
No, I think you might be right.
Yeah, I don't have to be too far off. It's right here.
Oh no, you got 4K 120 on the ultra wide.
Okay, so then I was wrong. The other thing that I noticed they updated was the front-facing camera now supports 1080p 60, not just 1080p 30.
Oh wait, do you? Or did it just change? Oh, okay, no, you don't. So it automatically switches you to the main sensor back.
Yeah, so 4K 120.
Yeah, so
I only have one. Yeah, I only have one. So the way you would know it is if you had multiple selections at the bottom. If you don't, then it takes you out of it.
Okay,
so
that was a fun little trick there. But anyway, regardless,
and we learned something new.
Zero support for filmic on the Mi 11i.
Oh, but again, no, absolutely. It's not even the same.
It's like different manufacturers, hot hatch premium tier brands, like an Audi versus a BMW or a little Lexus hatchback. That's the feel that I get from these phones. It's not like there's only one, A3 or BMW 3 that's ever worth buying. It's if you're into Audi, you're really going to like what they do with this year's small sedan or sports sedan.
They're both fun phones. Like. Yeah. The one thing I would say that using in OnePlus 9 or using the Mi 11i or the Mi 11 or the OnePlus 9 Pro, they're all fun phones to use. They're fast. They have a lot of resources. The UIs have been optimized dramatically over the years, like MIUI 12 and 12.5 that's coming up soon.
It's so sleek.
Absolutely. There's just, they figured out the right mechanism.
Goofy, bouncy, animated.
Yeah,
but it's so smooth.
And that's one thing I appreciated. It's the fact that ever since the MIUI 12 came out, Xiaomi got their system set up right. 12 fixed it. I got 12.5 on the Mi 11 Ultra, but it's still not the 12.5 version that I'm looking for, which has the camera optimizations. But it does get me there, which gets it even better. They pushed out another hotfix yesterday morning, which improved the performance score again, because there was an issue with the first update. Which I was going to ask is, did your Mi 11i get the 12.5, or are you still running on 12?
No, I'm still on 12.
12. Okay, so 12.5 will do some improvements. You'll see some nice improvements as well. More optimizations on performance for the actual processor and apps and so on. So definitely,
I literally shot part of my commentary today. I checked this morning.
See, I tell you,
son of a.
Americanese, yes.
So let me go ahead and start downloading that. And
so and as you're doing that, just highlight all those files you recorded this morning and just say
wait a minute, why does Juan's shirt keep changing in the middle of this review?
You should make that a challenge. How many shirts, how many outfits can I change in one review? If you catch it, then we can you'll get a prize at the end of the video. Please subscribe to the Patreon.
This is why people only do like embargo week reviews.
You can never keep up.
Come back. You can't. This is
impossible. So I honestly thought I had I got my last update on the 11 Ultra, and I was like, okay, great. So at least now I can start looking. And sure enough, 2 days later, I come up and they fixed some things, and they but it's still not the update I'm looking for. We still don't have rear display usage for anything other than just standard photos for some reason.
It just bums me out because I went through everything to check.
That's why I asked. I asked because I knew it was.
Wow, it's 600 meg. That's a big update. All right, we'll let that go ahead and go.
Meanwhile, back at the farm. No, just kidding. I like that Michael Peppertech saying OnePlus has more bands and also care for 720p 420 frames per second slow motion as well. Yes, and I think it's 240 at 1080, which is what I typically like. And one thing to keep in mind, the OnePlus 9 that we have is different than the OnePlus 9 in some of the other regions, as not all of the OnePlus 9s have wireless charging, although not the fastest. It's still
It's
unique.
still
The
wireless
yeah,
charging.
North American has a very different. And then on a nice note, OnePlus finally re-released their Android 12 beta, which I can think we mentioned earlier. So if you're courageous enough and you are willing to take a risk, the data is available, but please wait till I post my video, because then you can at least see if it's worth it. If not, then don't bother. I think it's probably not the right date, not the right version of Android 12 that you want to download. I would wait till they have an actual beta. This is really more of a developer preview, so this is like an alpha, really alpha, that could brick your phone. But yes, so I'm glad we're going to see that comparison. So I think the Mi 11i versus OnePlus 9 is definitely going to be a nice video to watch.
Genuinely like all in fun too, because as all-rounder phones go, I'm liking what's happening here, and I feel like Xiaomi and OnePlus are largely responsible for keeping this segment of the market carved out. Apple and Samsung are now trying to work this part of the market, but I really feel if it hadn't been for Xiaomi and OnePlus, the arguments on $1,000 starting prices for premium tier phones, I think, would have taken root a little more aggressively in the US.
Yeah, and both, I mean, we have to kind of admit to that. I mean, both OnePlus and Xiaomi do have $1,000 plus phone now, technically. The 9 Pro
but I mean, it's like the success of the iPhone 11 and iPhone 12 under the price of their Pro counterparts, and Samsung from 2020 to 2021, hard pivot, where the Galaxy S20 started at $999. Again, I feel like if it weren't for the success of these other phones in the $600 to $800 price window,
I think Xiaomi specifically, but yes.
Well, but OnePlus has been a part of that conversation too.
Oh, absolutely. I'm just referring to the global market part.
They caught a lot of flack for the 8 Pro being the max price of the 8 Pro
was at $999.
But they didn't start their phones off at $999, and I think the OnePlus 9 represents the true upgrade from like a OnePlus 7.
It truly is, yes. I feel like the 9 Pro and the 9 are really targeting the 7 and the 7 Pro. They're not targeting the 8 and the 8 Pro. It's not a generational upgrade that you would have been, I need to sell my 8 Pro to get a 9 Pro. I feel like
if you had the very first OnePlus, and not the 8T, the 8T I think was a better phone. But if you had a OnePlus 8 going to a OnePlus 9, I think still represents one of the better 1 year upgrades this year, because specifically
there's less compromises. That's the thing. It's the philosophy that OnePlus typically, and we've seen this with them before. The 7 or the standard model compromises were dramatic. We noticed that it would almost feel like it's a separate phone to a certain aspect, right? This year, we noticed them not only sharing, but also giving the 9 wireless charging, giving it the 65-watt charging, giving it all. I mean, there was a lot of things. We're talking the same wide-angle lens sensor. So I felt like the 9 and the 9 Pro were a lot closer. That line between the two becomes very clear of the QHD 120 as opposed to...
The OnePlus 8 largely felt to me like they had to make some generational sort of holding. It wasn't they weren't step backs, but they had to use different, probably less expensive cameras than on the 7T.
It was
just because of 5G. So when you had the additional component costs of the 865 and the separate modem, that jacked prices up for everybody. Like every phone.
I remember, at the beginning of the year, everybody's prices started. Exactly. It was purely
to keep that in line. I kind of felt like the OnePlus 8 was largely a lateral move, just for the chipset and the modem changing so dramatically. Going from 8 to 9, this feels like every part of this phone got better. Every part of the OnePlus 9 is better than the OnePlus 8. So those types of like, again, the generational nuance of like, well, OnePlus they're now betraying their enthusiasts. Like, how? Everyone wants to be playing where OnePlus is playing right now. Apple wants to play where OnePlus is. Samsung wants to play where OnePlus is.
They're realizing
that Xiaomi did this right, and now everyone is trying to dogpile on this section of the market.
And it is funny to see Samsung and Apple jumping into that mid range. I do want to say though, what's it called? Jeff did post a really nice, funny thing. And TK will brick his device so you don't have to.
You don't have to.
That's how we do it.
We're gonna put that on a business card.
That's how actually I'm going to be handing it out. I was like, I'd like to test your software because I'm the guy who will brick my phone before you have to. So those are the things I was looking into. So the Mi 11i, I think, is definitely a very, like, it's another one of those sleeper devices that you probably don't think. Like the Mi 11 Lite was also a very nice, surprising device. The i is also in the same boat because if you think about it, the 11 they definitely kind of go more closely. Like I feel like it's much higher. The QHD, the resolution, the sensors, the performance, but I think to a certain point, Xiaomi forced Samsung to release their device in January, which they have never done. They sent out the devices, so devices were starting to be available in February. So it was like there are so many things that changed this year because Xiaomi announced their phone in December and launched it in mid-January. So that was the only reason I was pointing straight to Xiaomi. Not to say that OnePlus didn't play a big part,
sure.
But Xiaomi did force them, and I feel like the $799 may have been to try to kind of tackle where the Mi 11 was landing originally. So they're trying to say we have something cheaper, although not comparable, but it's something cheaper.
I kind of feel like Samsung, this was a pivot that they made following the milquetoast, the lukewarm reaction to the S20. I feel like this was already in the cards for them, and this is something that they've been trying to do since the S6. They've been trying to kind of whittle back on their phones. They've been trying to remove features that are kind of expensive to implement. They've been cutting out things and accessories from boxes. I mean, like, this is a trend. This is a trend that they've been trying to go down.
Year after year. You're right. Their boxes have been getting lighter and lighter and lighter. And now it's so light, it's this thing.
Yeah, pretty soon the phone won't even be in the box.
That'll be funny. You download the phone.
The whole thing with Samsung is like whatever Apple is going to profit from, they're focusing their future efforts on doing something like that. And then having kind of like a few skunkworks projects like folding phones where they want to corner the market on bendable OLEDs. They're not going to have the same run with flexible OLEDs that they did with AMOLED. Like they cornered the market on AMOLED and they want to have that success with folding phones. And I just don't see where that's going to happen for them.
No, folding phones are still. It's hard to justify them as a daily driver. It's a nice phone to have. I have one and I like it, but it's just not something that you use on the daily. It's not realistic. It's something that once in a while you want to have a larger display, and you could do that, but it.
And what we learn from phones will absolutely benefit a number of other industries where having flexible displays is going to be clutch. Like a whole new generation of products, maybe in automotive, maybe in industrial. I mean, like even in living room, like I love the idea of having a monitor or TV that can kind of conform to a one user experience versus like a full family watching experience. Like I never wanted to buy a curved TV because if you're not sitting in the right spot, it doesn't look that great. But there are times where if I'm just watching by myself, make it for me, you know? So there are so many of these aspects and so many of these things that make sense. And I'm sure folding phones will be a part of that. Bendy, foldy tablets are going to be a part of that. But the core focus from Samsung, I think, was written as soon as the initial sales came out on the S20. And the S20 did not sell as well as the S10. And I feel like that set the stage for the S21 to be a more streamlined device. And then you look at the competition. Well, OnePlus phones and iPhones under $1,000 don't have memory card support or, you know, headphone dongles in the box. You know, they don't have chargers and iPhones anymore. And I think Samsung just went like, hey, why not us? And instead of really trying to lead the market or do something,
they looked over and copied the homework. We could definitely see the approach to, but I think they went a little bit too far because what they didn't realize is that they included the Ultra into the entire combination, which I felt like that they kind of shot themselves in the foot in that one.
No.
It's a very, you don't call it an Ultra and you keep taking things out of it, you know, right? It's like at some point it's going to be an ul and not Ultra, you know what I mean?
Well, and especially because like I've got this Mi 11i, which is just as powerful as all of these Ultra phones, but in the box it had a bumper and it had a cute little headphone dongle,
and includes the charger. The
stupid refreshing it is to open the box on. This is still an expensive phone. This
and you
is so
actually
like,
get what you're supposed to. I know,
and
it's
I got
refreshing.
the fast charger, the dongle, and the case.
So this is the thing.
So silly.
I love the fact that companies like OnePlus, like Xiaomi and other are using this as a total like backfiring kind of like, well, check it out, because they're not just making an ad, right? I don't like it when companies start firing ads at each other, because there's just hearsay. You're this is
Yeah.
blah 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 blah. At the end of the day, is what you do. Xiaomi doubled down, and not only that, included it in every one of their devices. Like you said, the headphone piece, they have an IR blaster that is still on their devices that no other company puts on the phone on their smartphones. FM radio, it has it has a whole bunch. There's a lot of features in Xiaomi devices that I think are silent, like features that people don't realize that are there.
Mhm.
But again, still the fastest charger. OnePlus does even give us, like I said, it gives us the fast 65-watt chargers, 15-watt chargers on the 9, 50-watt charging on the 9 Pro, with the additional charger there. So there's a whole bunch of things to really appreciate, and you truly feel like you're getting your money's worth. You don't feel
Yeah.
like year over year you're getting less for what you're paying, and you're paying more.
Oh, but TK, when you have the phone for over 4 years, what about your 4th operating system update? What's going to happen?
I think that's when my phone just shuts down and it's like, congratulations, you've upgraded to Android 14.
And
and
yeet.
shut. And I do want to say, hey, what's up to Adam? Adam is in the chat as well.
Oh,
Tech
hey.
Odyssey is hanging out with us as well.
2025. The only way you get an iPhone is an Apple employee delivers the phone to you straight to your door with no box.
No box. You get the phone. You don't get a wrapper. Nothing. Anything else you want?
Hold on 1 second. I've just got to. I was digging through old boxes. I got to get this real quick. Got to take out my headphones though. 1 second,
dude. Anytime. But yes, go to old Adam. Yep. Tech Odyssey comes in. I
can still talk. You can still hear me, but I can't hear you. So hold on.
Okay, everybody.
From
Juan said he was going to give $5,000 to everybody in the chat today. If you just, I'm sorry.
So Apple, we're very concerned about the environment and packaging, right? This is a very big concern.
It was the biggest thing they made on the announcement. The whole save the earth. We're going to be carbon neutral by 2020. What is it, 2030? I forget. Whatever. They set the dates, and they said the reason why they did that, they removed it out of the box because people have chargers everywhere.
And this is Apple Watch and watch bands. Look, Apple Watch and watch bands. We care about the environment and the packaging waste.
Or maybe what they said, maybe we didn't hear them right. Maybe we heard them right. Maybe we care so much we want to use more of the environment. Maybe that's what they said. We care we care about the environment so much we want to use more. I don't know.
I forgot I'd even had it, so I was unpacking another box, and then this mass of Apple packaging comes down. This is ridiculous.
Both Samsung and OnePlus and Apple are both guilty of this, because they did it at a time where nobody had the charger that they're selling. They're selling faster charging, USB-C style charging that nobody had unless they had an iPad or unless they had the S21 Ultra from last year that had the faster charging. So those are things that I think we kind of already kind of harped on. We talked about them. We covered them many, many times. I think it's one of those things I feel like, I mean, we don't want to be like a broken record. It's just, it'll be like, welcome back to the best of our week. In this week, we're going to talk about OnePlus. It is one of those things we kind of have to, see how things. And Adam was saying, I'm so concerned to keep creating 7 new colors of 3 different keyboards. It's one of those. You could definitely see that their focus is on the different aesthetics, right? Yeah. I mean, we saw. We'll see what happens with WWDC. I think with the announcements.
But I mean, I feel like this is one of those things we keep harping on.
Yeah.
I think this is one of the things we keep harping on, because I feel like, especially the folks that we'd like to chat with, and we're in our comments here, I feel this is an opportunity where we can affect a little change. I genuinely do want to believe in a message about reducing waste of any kind.
Yes,
packaging
absolutely.
Waste and everything else too. And I will believe them when the charger that I buy from them comes in a simple brown paper envelope.
Or they don't do what they just did with Michael Peppertech.
With watch, there's no reason why a watch should be sold and packed and shipped in a box that big, or watch
on its own
should be in boxes that long. And it's a watch strap. And I don't know if you've ever purchased a third-party watch strap on Amazon, but it comes in like a little wrapper, and
very
it's like
small,
very palm of my hand.
Small plastic container, very small, and it's wrapped. It's yes, it's very efficiently packaged in a matter. Even if it is put in plastic, it's still more efficiently packaged than
And I feel if we
the
keep
long everything. Yeah,
I feel if we keep ridiculing and bringing this up, that is a critique on Apple's business model. I can believe Apple when they make these ridiculous statements if they really do change their shipping model. And so I feel like it's still germane. Like
I
it's
feel like their
still
shipping department should have
so
watched
appropriate.
the keynote announcement. I think that's what it should have
I
been.
feel like they're
They
not really
invite the right, yeah, they
talking
invited everybody from PR,
firing all
marketing,
cylinders.
sales, associates, stores. Shipping department was not. It's almost like they subscribe to the same the delivery method or delivering system as Amazon, because Amazon is super guilty with this.
Whew.
Seriously, like a massive box for a tiny little thing, because that's
Mhm.
how the truck needs to fit. I'm like, seriously.
Or I was just really happy that the Xiaomi arrived like functional, because it came in a big shipping box where
With
it
a
then had that orange Xiaomi box.
box, yeah,
They
inside, which
didn't
had
put
nothing else
any
inside.
they
Yeah,
didn't put any padding in
nope.
the orange box. They put the padding in the big shipping box.
Yeah.
So the phone box is bouncing around like crazy inside their orange box.
First time that happened to me, that scared me, and then I realized
Terrifying.
that's exact. Yeah, I think that's how they ship.
They just ship something like that.
And the phone apparently makes it because it's so deep into so many layers of boxes
Like
and boxes
wedged in
and
the box.
yeah, it's a box within a box within a box, Inception level boxing.
Could you imagine the kind of feedback you got if that's how you shipped a phone on Swappa?
Oh,
Like,
yeah, exactly.
This guy's an idiot.
Yeah, he doesn't know what he's doing. He put the box in another box without any padding, and his phone was bouncing all over the place.
I'm
lucky
with
it
only
didn't.
my index fingers. This guy sucks.
I know. We're joking, but yeah, it's one of those. Anyways, like I said, the first time I saw that, it freaked me out. But then the phone seems to survive every single time. Lucky for us.
El Jefe, Jeff was saying Amazon is rough with that shipping material. I got a box of spin fit tips, big enough for a pair of shoes. Like, come on! All I needed was an envelope.
It absolutely, yeah. It is. They're notorious. There's just no rhyme or reason to try to understand how Amazon does their thing. Speaking of which, I think Amazon Prime Day, I don't know if you guys are looking forward to that, is going to be on the 21st.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be, actually, that's coming back. I think last year wasn't. I don't know if they did. I don't know if they did it last year or not, but I think this year is officially like kind of back.
I feel like 2020 was Amazon Prime Day.
Yeah, the whole I think Amazon.
Wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Amazon's like, we don't have to do a special day. They're buying stuff off our shelves without even having anything, especially our toilet paper stuff. I think we're pretty much 2020. I think that's what we should have. 2020 is shirt. Just say 2020 and just show a roll of toilet paper. That's it. Woo-hoo. I think people will know. Will just know. They'll give you that wink, but they'll know.
Yeah, we did find some of our. So we had kind of made an extra Costco run at one point where like we stocked up a bit more than we needed to. As we were moving out, we had kept it like in a sort of a wrapped bag in an outdoor shed on our old place. There was like a teeny little patio, and by the water heater we had an extra shed. We're going through and you're like, oh, this was our pandemic stockpile of paper towels and toilet paper.
This is the backup to the backup to the backup stuff. Yeah, not exactly.
Oh,
yeah.
What a funny little memory we had of actually being concerned that we wouldn't be able to
if we could ever just figure out exactly what caused the world to panic around toilet paper.
Out.
I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, Amazon Prime Day, save 10% on your Amazon products that you don't want to buy, but we'll cringe buy anyways. Also, you have lightning deals on beef jerky. Because well, that's because that's what it is. I feel like anyway, it's a day. I mentioned it purely because we were talking about Amazon packaging and so on, and it just popped into my head. But I do want to talk a little bit about our favorite subject to talk about. That's something that it's in the news, which is weird because it's in the news for the oddest thing, right? So the Xperia One Mach3.
Yes.
It's a phone
probably gonna be my replacement for an LG this year.
It's more than likely the way it's been touted, at least with the specifications and everything going on. And this is the good news, Juan. If you really like it, you could definitely pick it up now. You just have to buy it from China. It's going on sale from China. And we're talking retail. We're not talking like, fake or whatever, but it looks like So last week, I think it was on Saturday, I think some people were mentioning it to me, and I couldn't find any articles or anything related to it. And then sure enough, in that last couple of days or so, now they're showing it up. The surprising part about it is that it's selling in China first, ahead of Japan and ahead of any of the other markets, like, US, Europe, or anything like. But the surprising part is the price tag, or at least the translated pricing of what they're thinking.
I didn't think it was that surprising.
Well,
but please, let's not,
Well, no. So we don't really know exactly how much the pricing is going to be on our side, right? The translated price, which is always never the same. There's always it never translates the same, and whoever does that, it just, obviously it's not, every market has its own pricing and so on. OnePlus is very notoriously known for that. Like a OnePlus 9 and the 9 Pro sells for a very different price in Asia, in India, than it sells in the US, than it sells in Europe. So we know that, and we also know that how Pixel devices are sold. So it's typical. It's gradually going up a little bit for at least what it looks like. So we know from what we saw there is that it's going to be a little bit higher than the 1200 that we saw last time with the Xperia One Mach3, which was again another price increase. But for the things that we've seen or that we're going to be coming, the technology improvements, the ability of us having actually 5G in the US, not just on like the Xperia Pro, I think that's going to be something that's going to be hopefully like it'll work exactly the way we want it to work. It'll be like the 5G at the full potential, so on, all of those. And then the new optics that we get there in some, the new display with the 4K 120. I think that's my biggest thing. I want to play with that 4K 120. I want to see games in that form factor. This is not specifically just to play with with a 120 hertz refresh rate display.
Yeah.
The Xperia One Mark II and the One Mark II specifically, the longer form factor, although great for movies, it's also amazing for gaming. It removes your hands because the controls are so stretched out to the side that you have a much bigger field of view in the game. And now we will have the ability of getting that at 4K 120. So I'm a little bit surprised. I tried looking for it. I couldn't find a place to buy it. I'm not going to lie.
One?
Dude, if it's available, we have no idea, right? They said summer, right? The summer for the Xperia One Mach 3 in the US. So when is summer, right? July, August? I
thought you were about to break out into song, like
like when is summer? Yeah, no. Wait, hold on. Do you want to buy a phone now? Do you want to buy it from China? No.
Wow.
I don't know where I went. I do apologize.
Ultimately, yes, but I kind of feel like the hassles of importing a Sony from China.
Oh, no, it wouldn't even work. I'm sorry. So just for caveat purposes, Sony specifically region codes their devices for areas. They do the exact same thing with their cameras. A couple of years ago, I was in Japan. I was with the family. We were having fun, and they released the RX7 RX100 Mark 7 in Japan. The week I was there, I went to the big camera and I looked at the camera. It was all in Japanese. There was no English firmware to it. So even if I bought it and imported it to the US with me, I would not have been able to enjoy using that camera because I would not understand the menu. It's not something that makes sense. So Chinese versions of a device, especially with the bands, it will not support US 5G. It almost would be more of the getting it for the sake of getting it first, but
I think it was the right play though, because it seems their initial step in launch in China is already garnering some solid sales, positive reactions. Like when they're like a JD Power or something, like award for like initial consumer satisfaction or something. It's like this seems like the right play. I feel like in a market full of Samsungs and Apples that don't feel that exclusive, Sony is going to roll in with a phone that's going to feel exclusive and isn't going to feel exotic. In a weird way, like they didn't go to a folding phone to command a premium.
They just gave you premium.
They gave you premium. And like if it's anything like the Mark II, every piece of that build, every piece of that equation is
headphone jack, stereo speakers. I think
except with the exception of the selfie camera, something tells me that's still going to be weak sauce.
There was no info, and I couldn't find anything on the. Yeah, so what? Juan, we all know there's no selfie camera on an Alpha. Alphas Alphas use the right camera lenses, and now you got 4 focal lengths there coming up on the new Xperia One Mach 3. So focus on the right camera, Juan. Stop talking about the front one, right? That's what you would say to me usually.
Yeah.
This is
That sounds familiar. That does sound
role
like something.
reversal. I did it right, nailed it.
Role playing here.
Exactly.
I'm gonna yes and then
exactly.
it's great.
But yeah, no. I'm just what I'm trying to say is that I'm excited. I always like the same thing happened last year. If you remember with the Xperia One Mach 2, it came out in Japan, it came out in Europe, and then a month later we got it in the US, right? And then not only that, they got all the colors, everybody got everything, and we got. I mean, I'm not complaining about the black, but I'm just saying it's realistically as far as options.
Purple.
Exactly purple. Just, skip. Give us just purple this year. This year be the year of the fun year, right? Give us purple. So. I'm interested to see again. We'll probably going to start seeing some content being posted on that stuff. So for me,
I mean, we can pretty much guarantee that a lot of the commentary is going to be it's too expensive. You can buy a Samsung for absolutely.
Yeah. I think the article that I was able to see, it was like, what? But the thing is, you have to focus. You have to factor in. Look, it's a 4K panel on a display on a smartphone. It's a 4K 120 gaming panel, and also has, we're talking about the white balance configuration, the cinematic, the cinematic display tuning that we have. Stereo speakers.
I don't feel like people understood this on the Xperia 5.
No, I don't think people. They don't really see.
This isn't just a 120 panel. This is actually a panel that drives 240 with black frame insertion.
Exactly, because
gaming was actually kind of hard on the 5 Mark II for how twitchy responsive it would actually react to input.
If you bump it up in the settings in the gaming center to 240 and not keep it at 120, it's crazy.
So if they're doing that, again, overdriving the panel so that it's 120 with 120 black frames per second in addition to that is insane. I mean, that's incredible.
Plus the 888, plus 5G in the US. To me,
and I still have high hopes. I'm hoping that this Sony is able to demonstrate a flavor of power management.
I'm hoping for that secret power management features that they had in what they had in the Xperia Pro, that we weren't even and none of us were informed of that. I had to watch Zach from Jerry Grigg Everything when he disassembled the Xperia Pro for us to find out that it actually had a better cooling system than the Xperia One Mark II. So little things like that, I think Sony always loves to surprise us. So I'm really excited to see that.
But more than anything else, it's like I'm so tired of these hack conversations that this is a phone with the premium-ist versions of these features,
and the only one right now. Last year they had some players playing with them the same game, but with the V60 and the V70 not being a thing.
So if you want a headphone jack, stereo speakers,
a good one,
a great screen, and a memory card slot on a premium tier phone, this is it. Yeah, we can't keep paying lip service to this idea of vote with your wallet and then complain when more features are more expensive.
When we pay more to get less with other companies. Yes,
this is going to be this is going to be a hard sticker shock for a lot of consumers to look at. But at the same time, when you say something like 4K and you get a bunch of people going, well, I don't need 4K. That's what the Xperia 5 is for. And again, if you want features, you can't just say things like vote with your wallet, but then only recommend cheaper phones because you can get this one SoC on another lesser device. Like I can get the same SoC on my Mi 11i. It's not the same phone.
No.
It doesn't have the same stuff.
What Sony has become as a brand when it comes down to their Xperia line on their smartphones is a very much targeted niche, but they are nailing it. It's hard for me to explain it. Now, mind you, this is something we're talking about a phone, obviously, that once we have our hands on it, we'll be able to give a little bit more understanding. But based on the fact that we both have used the Xperia One, the Xperia One Mark II, and
Mhm.
this is really building on that heritage, going up to the next level with the 4K panel. I wanted faster refresh rate last year from the 4K panel, and we got the
Mhm.
somewhat of an interesting software approach with the Xperia One Mark II. So we'll have to see how the new one with the new
Yeah.
panel. I'm hoping for adaptive refresh. That's one thing I'm really hoping for, because
Oh, that would be,
that
yeah.
because on battery, because they didn't really jump up that much on the battery side. So that's one thing I'm
And
a
an
little bit concerned.
888 with 120 hertz is pretty
And
thirsty.
5G and the 5G modem in there.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see how the battery life is. Those are going to be some of those conversations, but I'm glad that it's up starting, which, if anything, is an indicator that we are getting closer to the release. If that's the best way to say it. Once it's
Fingers crossed.
available in the market, then it's a timeline, and I'm sure we're going to be the last. The US will be the last market to get it, but we'll get it at some point.
But this is definitely going to contribute to a conversation. Like, whether or not this is judged as like the most amazing upgrade.
Yeah.
The jump from Xperia One Mark 1 to Xperia One Mark 2 was pretty significant.
It was a
And
revamp. It was
if this to the Mark 3 just represents general refining, there are so many things that Sony is ahead of the curve on, where I feel like it's okay if they kind of coast. Like, I've been looking through some of those Asian area review videos on the One Mark 3 that just killing me that I don't have my hands on one right now. Like, we're praising Apple for finally putting in a slightly larger camera sensor on the iPhone 12 Pro Max. It's a $1,200 phone
starting,
and like Sony was there last year on the One Mark 2. Like, we move the goalposts around, and it's very convenient to complain about, like, well, the price is getting higher. You're like, yeah, all of these components are ridiculously more expensive than they were 3 or 4 years ago.
No, absolutely.
I feel like most consumers should probably be playing in the $300 to $400 tier anyway. So when I want an enthusiast phone, I don't want a compromised phone. I don't want take features out and then drop the price a little bit. That doesn't make the phone better. It made the phone cheaper, but it doesn't make it the phone I want to use. And I understand that this is going to be expensive, and that's going to hurt my soul a little bit, but I'll be happy with that as a total package, because it really will have all the things that I need to use.
I think so. And I think we need to have the ability of picking that device that does represent everything we want, and the fact that the experience does keep getting better. The one thing I think somebody was also mentioning here is maybe potentially looking into it also about the brightness level, which, yes, that was something I think with the One Mark 2 that we had. The brightness level was not as high outside. And he's mentioning that, with it being now 4K 120, there may be also some limitation of how bright they can get the panel for them with that refresh rate turned on. So yeah, those are some of those things.
Even if just Sony could do some of those tricks that Samsung used to do with super contrast. Like,
pump up the contrast as well.
Yeah, it was like the S6 or the S7.
Was it not on the 5, or was it on the S6? Maybe it was on the S6. Yeah, when they started doing curved displays.
It wasn't that the display got so much brighter, but it would just heavily exaggerate the difference between highlights and lowlights on image data. Like that could be kind of nice too. So
there's a lot of things where, like I said, I'm counting literally the days when we get the announcement, the official announcement of when it's actually going to be coming out, because literally the timing is. Short answer is the days are numbered. Hopefully it's within the next month or so, or maybe 2 months at the most, if last year's schedule was any indication. But so that was actually a little bit of a surprise, seeing that it is selling about $1,400, so a little bit more. It could be potentially a little bit less depending on when it hits the US or the European market. But I'm really excited to see them be literally holding to their own values and doubling down on what's been working, and not compromising just for the sake of reducing a $50 or $100 down to give you an experience that is just is watered down. It's really a little bit more watered down. And the 5 Mark 3, whenever that one comes out, also kind of things, I also am very excited for that, because that brings down some of those experiences to what we saw with the 5. No, it's the same. You get the sensor. That's what I'm trying to say. The
Yeah.
cameras, and those are the things you love. Those new options are there. The headphone jack. You're still going to get that 120 hertz
I
refresh
mean,
rate.
if anything, the 5 mark, the 5 series has often represented the more bleeding edge camera tech.
Mm-hmm.
Because
It used to.
the original 5 Mark 1 was the one that introduced the rack focus,
Mm-hmm.
and the
And the
5 Mark
better.
2 had the 120 frame per second 4K video
Yep.
that the 1 Mark 2 didn't get until it got
Till-
Android 11.
I was gonna say we had to wait till 11, although they had it at Android 10 on the 5 Mark II. The 1 Mark II didn't get it till
So
Android
in
11.
some ways, I mean, again, even if you're like, well, this is way too expensive, what is Sony thinking? I want all these features, but I don't want to spend this much. Get an Xperia 5, because you'll probably get something on that Xperia 5 that the 1 can't do.
Oh no, and typically that's what you're getting, I think. But last year we definitely saw them more of their closer relationship. I think the first
for
one,
sure.
the 5 to the 1, they fixed the fingerprint sensor, which I think the 1 was suffering from a little bit.
But then
They
they
did
also
improve it.
closed the gap, because even though the 5 is a noticeably smaller phone, they managed to put in almost the same size battery.
It's the same size battery, which it tells me. I'm like, I know, but there was one comment in there that I wanted to definitely. I think it was Santiago Sanchez. It says the S21 is a good hand heater for those really cold nights. Yes. Especially because Jeff was mentioning, he said Call of Duty. So my S21 also, yeah, put mad hot when you're playing Call of Duty. Yeah, especially when you're playing it at 90 hertz, man.
You know what we should do? We should maybe plan and whenever
we're gonna finally do it.
No, well, yeah, we should do that too. But like maybe when we can finally get our hands on an Xperia and we can chat, I think we should just do sort of an accounting on the A88. From Samsung to OnePlus to Xiaomi, Sony, some of the gaming phones that we've gotten to play with.
To Asus, I have the ROG as well.
I feel like every manufacturer has kind of taken a different approach at handling what Qualcomm delivered here. And in many ways, this was a lot more successful than the Snapdragon 810. Like Qualcomm did deliver, I think, better on some of these promises of performance, but then left it more up to the individual manufacturers how to not nuke your phone through different like throttling, CPU throttling, GPU limiting, putting in enhanced cooling hardware into each device. I think we should try and break it down. Like we might want to save one of our Thursdays just like we're going to go through this. We're talking A88 and experiences. We can pull out some gaming benchmarks and some video rendering tests and stuff and really sit here and break it all down, because in years past, I would say from the Snapdragon 820 to the Snapdragon 865, we could kind of count on across the board performance improvements.
Yeah.
Every generation, it didn't really matter what app or game you played, it was better than the generation before. And that hasn't completely played out for the A88. It's not the same as it's been in previous years.
It depends on the manufacturer, and it depends on what flavor and how things are being done. Like you said, the different examples you were giving, it depends truly on the
developers are optimizing for big core on the CPU, which not a lot of app developers are. I mean, there are so many moving parts on this where
from a developer standpoint, though, yeah, you have to. They're focusing on their user base. So if 90% of their users are not running 888, they're not going to optimize for the 888 till you realize, right? They factor. They're making the experience to the smallest denominator in their equation, which is going to be as long as it runs
or their broadest demographic.
Exactly,
and then that's also why so much software right now is running so well on 600 and 700 series Snapdragon.
They're catering to because that's how they're focusing, and it's rightfully so. I think that's the right decision. If you were in the developer's shoes, you're not going to want to try to optimize your app or spend the time on optimizing it for that 1 or 2% of people that bought the 888 at the $1,000 plus. Where everybody else is going to be running, like you said, on the 600, 700, generation Snapdragon or even a MediaTek processor. The Dimensity 700 is doing seriously well. Even that
was another one. I got the Infinix.
The Infinix Note 10 Pro?
Yeah.
Dude.
So what's the Helio G95?
It's literally the Dimensity 700.
The numbers
they're
were
very
exactly the same.
Yeah, exactly. And the only difference I would probably say is the Helio G95 can give you 4K better than what the 700 does in MediaTek. Because the Dimensity 700 for some reason is capped at 1080. It doesn't like doing 4K, but the Infinix with the G95 can do 4K 30 on the front and on the back. On the front and the back, man.
And the GPU numbers here were right in line with we're just under Snapdragon 855s.
A little bit, yeah.
Not bad
at all. No, exactly. That guy surprised me quite a bit. So it was very, very nice. It was a very nice surprise. See, you're starting to. Yeah, I can see many nice things in high quality 4K 30 frames per second in your future. Speed test. Yeah, no, we're not gonna do speed test. No, I'm just kidding. I like people want to set up a game night. We should do an Among Us. Oh, did you know that Among Us is free on Epic on the PC?
Not anymore. That was last week's game. This week is this week is a good game too.
Did you grab it?
I did. I didn't feel bad about grabbing it because I'd already purchased it on Steam and I'd already purchased it on Android. I bought it twice. So
okay, good. I was going to say,
felt like I can grab it for free just once. What is the game on Epic?
I didn't see what Epic was doing this week, but all I know is I saw that
it's a good game. Frostpunk. Frostpunk is really good.
But we should definitely bring back gaming night. I think once your digs are set up and everything is kind of running smoothly, we can set up and then one of these nights I definitely want to put Call of Duty on the board or something just to kind of kick it. But no, I'm just kidding. We bring back Tetris. We can bring Tetris back in, and then play a little bit, bring back Aditya and kick it a little bit. Aditya wants to see Infinix Note 10 Pro versus iPhone 12 Pro Max, since they both are pros.
One phone has a headphone jack,
and not only that, I think
some courage there. Actually, but I gotta say, the fact that this also had dual SIM and an SD card slot on the tray was
very surprising. As a brand for Infinix, because I didn't get a chance to work with them on the Hot 10, I want to say, the other ones that they released not that long ago. I think Edabong from Board at Work did. So I was lucky enough. We were happy that we were able to get the access or get my hands on the 10 Pro. So definitely, a lot of people are actually they have a bigger presence than we knew. It's just we're not familiar with them in the US. I think that's the primary thing. I just never heard of them prior to this, but again,
this is I'm not breaking any news here, but this is wonderful hardware in that sort of lower end mid ranger tier. Whereas this is like a €250 phone, but again, somewhere in that ballpark, and you're right up against TCLs, Nords, Motos.
Speaking of TCL, the 20 Pro, man, we're still waiting. Waiting. Still TCL, if you're listening. I'm just kidding.
But it's and Xiaomi's, some of the lower cost Xiaomi's, I feel okay with this experience, knowing that it's probably not going to get a ton of software support.
I think I got
as
one
long as
update
consumers kind of understand some of the trade-offs. If you want a crazy hardware feature complete phone, this has been surprisingly good. Our cheapest phones are getting silly good right now.
They're keeping features that are more expensive are losing. I do want to say good night to both Jeff and Adam. I think they're both going to be jetting out. They need to shoot some content.
We should probably start wrapping this up too. Now that they're gone. See, now that Jeff and Adam are done. See, that's why even bother.
Why do I even try, man? Seriously. No, but we are hitting that magical.
These guys have no staying power. We can talk for another hour, but I've got to get to bed. I'm Adam.
No, Adam. I think both Adam and Jeff are both going to go shoot some videos, so they're going to be working for a little bit longer,
for sure.
For sure. So, you guys go get it done. So I think overall, I do want to say this, and I'm not going to get too much detail into this, but one thing was kind of very exciting for me is that I was able to score a AMD 5950X CPU
very nice
at retail not at retail, at MSRP. I was gonna say retail doesn't have MSRP in 2021 through some favors and stuff
So
like that. But I was
what immoral obligations were
I
required?
I only had to promise my second child's first name
Oh,
needs to be Antonio. So I'm just kidding.
well, that's great.
Yeah, it's a great name, but I don't have a problem, and I don't know if we'll ever. It was seriously it was pure luck, pure like that. I mean, I was doing a lot of research. I there, and as you guys know, with SoCs and GPUs alone, I'm not even going to try to bring that conversation to today. Was the
You don't
launch
want to
day,
break
or
down the 3080 Ti.
the 3080 Ti fiasco that just happened this morning, where it's out everywhere. It's gone. It's already gone. It never showed up, but it's gone. It's like you don't even look for it. And then Best Buy, I mean, I admire what Best Buy tried to do, but it was a little bit very badly planned. They had it in 3 stores in the LA area, not even one store in the LA area,
It's
one
not.
in Bakersfield.
We don't even need to. I want to hear about the 5950 though.
So short answer, I got it. It should be here on Saturday. So
Nice.
the only thing I need to do right now is get a cooler for it, because I don't think I can still use the cooler I have. So what's going to happen is now, because the build that I was doing for Omar was running the 1800X, which is a few years old, right? It's not it's not very it's not even like last gen. It's like 2 generations ago. So for me, the 3900X is going to be going. The 3900X is going to go to Omar. So that'll be the system, the CPU that was on that board, the old one that broke. So now he gets much better processing, and then I'll be able to rock, and he'll keep the cooler with it, which I think is just an air cooler, the stock one that comes with the 3900X. So now I'm just looking forward to just overclocking that sucker and just getting like AIO with some RGB. So that's a little thing that I'm excited about very much. I don't know why, but getting it at retail,
no, that's great. The
else.
5950X is a monster.
It absolutely.
So to get it in MSRP, I mean, like, I almost worry that you just said that on the show that someone's gonna like
people are gonna be like, well,
whole crew of people are gonna be outside with like torches and pitchforks.
They'll start lining up around, right? It's like the next morning. How many of those did you get? No, I was only able to get one. As you can imagine, there's limits on those things. But I will say this: I do not like the new X Shuffle. It builds up my hopes every morning.
Proper bad. Yeah.
Yeah. And because today all of the options they had in there were all the good ones, and not a single one I am not selected every single day.
Yeah.
But that was it. I just wanted to say that was my best part of the week. If I had to kind of throw that in, I know I didn't start with that with the show. You had to wait an hour and a half to get that bit of information out of me. But yeah. I will say, was there anything highlighting on your end? Did you want to bring up?
No, I mean,
we already kind of covered
the biggie
Mi
for
11.
me was jumping in on a friend of mine from high school is now a high school teacher.
Oh,
and
nice.
So I joined one of her blocks of government classes to talk about net neutrality and FTC regulations for content creators. It was actually really fun. Again, a bunch of high school students that really knew more about government than me because they're studying it right now. But being able to share some of those personal experiences on like, this is how we do this, or this is why we're concerned about DMCA, or how copyright really works, because it's not the legal system that you're interacting with. You're interacting with a platform that has its own terms of service on top of what a copyright claim would actually resemble. So it was pretty interesting. It was a fun way to kind of break that down. And then again, I was soapboxing about like rural broadband and distribution and how lobbying efforts are influencing government funds for that. Public broadband is going to be a hot topic coming up soon too. So
I can imagine.
It was good. It was the kind of stuff that you're like, aha, I'm shaping and molding young minds, but not really.
No, it is always interesting to go back to an educational system where you're not the receiving end there. You're trying to help others. It's there's a certain sense of fulfillment that you get out of it because you're participating in that. So I definitely appreciate that part, and I'm excited. I'm excited to for you. So I'm really happy. Yeah, no, it's good.
I'm hoping to do a bit more of that.
I like it. So with that being said, Michael Peppertech, he's throwing in the numbers. It's $985 right now, $984.95 on Amazon for the 5950X. That's $184 over MSRP. Ouch. And that, if you look at that one, Michael, it's actually listed as sold by AMD, which is the other funny part, which means AMD is selling it at an overpriced price than than what they're supposed to. But with that being, I thank you for that comment, Michael. I want to say thank you to everybody for hanging out with us. Thanks to Jeff, Adam, Michael, Greg, Aditya, of course, hanging out with us. Some stamina guy. Oh man, Aditya with the hashtags always. Gary the fireman, everybody else also hanging out with us. I think we had a few new viewers as well. Welcome to the chat. Make sure if you guys would like to be able to listen to the actual audio version of this podcast, we are linking it in the description below. It will be available first thing in the morning, but there are some shows available from the previous weeks if you guys would like to check that out. Oh, and Ranesh, of course, please. Thank you. I forgot. So I didn't mention Ranesh prior. Take care of yourself. Be good. We'll be back for another episode of the Best of Our Week next week with hopefully more fun, antics and jokes from my son, because I'm going to be working on capitalizing on his funny humor. So take care, everybody. Have a good night. I'll see you guys, or we will see you guys next week for another show.
Bam.